Let me tell you something that no one really talks about, but every man feels. The moment your value drops in his eyes, it's almost impossible to undo. That's the harsh truth. And it's not about being unfair or judgmental. It's about human psychology, especially in romantic dynamics between masculine and feminine energy. What's scary is most women don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. They just feel the shift. One day, everything feels magnetic and exciting. And the next, he's pulling away. Things feel off. And you're stuck wondering, what changed? Let's be clear. Value isn't about your looks. It's not your job title, your salary, or how much you pour into him. Value is the energy you bring. It's the way you hold space for yourself, the quiet confidence you walk with, the calmness in your responses, and the way you lean back emotionally rather than chase validation. It's the energy that says, I choose you, but I don't need you to define me. When that energy fades, even just a little, men feel it. Not logically, not even consciously, but instinctively. And in that moment, the dynamic silently shifts. He doesn't announce it. He just slowly stops showing up the same way. You feel the change. You try harder, give more, overthink, and just like that, what had potential spirals into another emotional roller coaster you didn't sign up for. That's why this conversation matters. That's why we're breaking this down. Because high-value energy isn't a game. It's not manipulation. It's a mindset, a lifestyle. And once you understand what silently drains your value in a man's eyes, you can stop shrinking yourself for someone else's comfort. You can stop chasing approval and start standing tall in your worth. This isn't about being hard to get. It's about being hard to forget. What men are really attracted to. Let's dismantle a common myth first. Attraction isn't just about beauty, charm, or saying the right words at the right time. Those things might catch his attention, but they don't keep it. What keeps a man coming back? It's how you make him feel. Male attraction is wired deeper than many women realize. It's emotional, energetic, psychological. At its core, men are drawn to women who activate something powerful inside them, but not just excitement or lust. The attraction that lasts comes from a woman who feels emotionally safe, grounded and centered within herself. That doesn't mean you become his therapist or emotional support system. It means you become a mirror, a reflection of the best version of himself. The man he wants to become, confident, reliable, inspired. And the only kind of woman who can spark that in him consistently is the one who knows who she is. Understanding masculine energy. Masculine energy is wired to pursue, to earn, to conquer. But not just anything, only what it perceives as valuable. It craves a challenge, not in a dramatic or combative way, but in a motivational way. It wants to rise, to win, to show up better. That's why men instinctively pull away from women who give too much too soon. When a woman leads with neediness, over-availability, over-explaining, or emotional chaos, she unintentionally flips the polarity. Suddenly, he's not pursuing. He's reacting, retreating, or withdrawing. Even if you're beautiful, successful, sweet, or perfect on paper, if your energy says, "You're my emotional anchor," the magnetism begins to fade. Because men value what they work for, not what is freely handed to them. The power of feminine energy. Here's the magic. Masculine and feminine energy thrive in contrast. Masculine energy is active, external, forward-moving. Feminine energy is receptive, internal, magnetic. When a woman truly owns her feminine essence, her grace, stillness, intuition, and mystery, she doesn't have to perform. She doesn't have to try. She just is. And that energy pulls him in like gravity. He can't explain it. He just wants to be around her. He feels good in her presence, grounded, challenged, alive. But here's where many women unintentionally sabotage this dynamic. They try to earn his love. They try to prove their value. They either overgive or become emotionally unavailable to avoid looking needy. Neither works. The first makes you feel exhausted and unappreciated. The second makes you guarded and difficult to connect with. Attraction isn't about games. It's about alignment. It's about doing the inner work to feel safe and worthy within yourself. So you're no longer seeking approval, you're radiating self-trust. And when you embody that trust, men feel it. They don't need to be convinced of your value. They sense it. They associate you with calm confidence, emotional depth, and graceful strength. And that is unforgettable. The most common mistake: overgiving too soon. Now let's dive into the first subtle but dangerous mistake that kills your value. Early on, overgiving too soon. It often starts from a good place. You like him. You're excited. You want to show you care. So you start texting him every morning, rearranging your schedule to see him, buying thoughtful gifts, helping with his stress, being emotionally available whenever he needs. But you're doing it before he's really earned it. You think you're showing love, but what he feels is, I didn't have to do anything for this attention. She's all in, and I haven't even decided yet. That shifts the polarity. Now you're in the masculine role, pursuing, providing, initiating. And he's in the passive role, receiving without effort. And here's the thing, men don't value what they don't earn. Overgiving too soon isn't generous, it's self-abandonment, wrapped in good intentions. It tells him, you don't have to try. I'll carry this connection for both of us. And the moment that happens, the attraction starts to die. Slowly. Quietly. But certainly. The deeper truth. Fear behind the giving. What's underneath all this giving? Fear. The fear that if you don't do enough, he'll lose interest. The fear that if you don't prove your worth, he won't choose you. The fear that if you hold back even a little, someone else will take your place. But ironically, that fear is the very thing that makes him pull away. Men don't fall in love with the woman who gives the most. They fall in love with the woman whose presence feels like a gift because she gives from overflow, not from lack. The woman who gives slowly, who gives in response, not out of fear, who observes before she invests. That woman isn't cold. She's wise. She knows her worth. She knows love is built, not bought. And that keeps her value high and his respect even higher. Let's talk about something that might seem small, even innocent on the surface, but when left unchecked, it slowly chips away at your value in a man's eyes, without you even realizing it. I'm talking about constant reassurance seeking. It can sound like, do you still like me? Why didn't you text back right away? Are we okay? Are you sure nothing's wrong? Now let's be clear, wanting clarity is not wrong. Wanting to feel secure in a relationship is not wrong. But when that desire turns into a pattern, when your emotional safety depends on constant signals from him, something shifts. And not just in you, in him too. Because what reassurance seeking really communicates isn't, I care about us. It's, I don't trust myself. I don't believe I'm enough without proof. And men pick up on that energy. Even if they can't articulate it, even if they care about you, something starts to feel heavier, less magnetic, more like pressure. And that pressure eventually breaks the connection. Why reassurance isn't really what you're craving. Here's the deeper truth. Reassurance doesn't actually fix what's bothering you. It soothes you for a moment, but the fear always returns. The doubt always creeps back in, because what you're really craving isn't his reassurance. It's your own self-trust. When you don't trust yourself, you depend on someone else to regulate your emotions. You start reacting to every delay in response, every shift in tone, every perceived change in vibe. Your nervous system goes into fight or flight, because you're wired to interpret emotional silence as danger. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll likely trace it back to past pain. Maybe you were ghosted. Maybe someone betrayed you after promising they never would. Maybe you were told you were too sensitive, too needy, too much. So now you ask questions not because you're curious, but because you're afraid. But here's the thing. Even though your fear is valid, letting it control your behavior is what damages the connection. Not because men are emotionally unavailable, but because men are not wired to respond to emotional pressure. The same way women are. They don't build attraction through fixing. They build it through feeling safe around your energy, not obligated by it. The high-value shift emotional resilience. So what does a high-value woman do differently? She doesn't chase clarity. She embodies it. She doesn't need constant reminders that she's lovable, because she already believes it. She doesn't fall apart at the first sign of distance. She pauses, observes, and responds with wisdom. She knows that space isn't always a threat, that not every silence means rejection, that if a man pulls back, it's her job to stay centered, not spiral. That doesn't mean you can't ask for what you need. Of course you can, but the energy behind your request matters. There's a difference between, "Hey, I noticed a shift, can we talk about it?" Grounded. Versus, "Are you mad at me? Why are you being distant?" Anxious. One invites connection. The other triggers defensiveness. Men respect women who are emotionally self-aware, who can notice their own patterns, feel their own emotions, and hold themselves through discomfort without projecting it all over him. That's not coldness. That's emotional maturity. And when a man senses that, he feels something rare. He feels safe. Safe to be himself. Safe to show up. Safe to invest. Because you're not asking him to constantly fix something inside. You're inviting him to join you in something already grounded. Why emotional independence builds attraction. Let's get one thing straight. You are allowed to feel unsure. You are allowed to have needs. You are allowed to be vulnerable. But the moment your sense of self begins to rise and fall based on a man's attention, you hand over your power. You become the responder instead of the chooser, the anxious follower instead of the confident receiver. And in that shift, the polarity breaks down. Here's what most women don't realize. Men fall in love with how they feel about themselves when they're around you. If they feel confident, grounded, excited, and capable around you, those feelings get attached to you. But if they feel like they're constantly calming, reassuring, or managing your emotions, they begin to associate you with stress. And they start to pull away. Not always because they don't care, but because they don't want to be responsible for holding you together. That's not love. That's emotional labor. A high-value woman doesn't burden a man with the job of regulating her self-worth. She handles her triggers, she works through her patterns, and she brings her full self into the connection, not a role, not a need, not an emotional checklist. And that makes a man want to stay. The third value killer, making him the center of your world. Now let's talk about the third, and perhaps most dangerous way many women unknowingly diminish their value. Making a man the center of your universe. It feels like love. It feels romantic, but slowly, silently, it turns into self-abandonment. Here's how it happens. You meet someone. You click. You're excited. You want to spend time with him. You prioritize him. You accommodate him. And somewhere along the way, your life starts to shrink. You stop seeing your friends as much. You skip the gym, cancel your plans, rearrange your day, just in case he's free. Your focus shifts from living your life to waiting for his text. And at first, he might like the attention. It feels flattering. But soon, the dynamic changes. Because the version of you he fell for, the vibrant, independent, self-possessed woman, that woman is fading. And instead, you've become available. Too available. Emotionally dependent, predictable, even passive. And that kills attraction. Men don't fall in love with women who orbit around them. They fall in love with women who own their space, pursue their passions, and invite a man into their already meaningful life. That kind of woman isn't just attractive. She's unforgettable. The magnetic shift. You are the sun. Here's the truth. You are meant to be the sun, not the moon orbiting someone else. When your life is full, when your energy is rooted, when your days are rich with purpose and joy with or without him, you radiate an energy. That's magnetic. That doesn't mean being emotionally unavailable or indifferent. It means being centered. You can be warm, loving, generous, emotionally open, and still anchored in your own world. You don't wait around. You invite. And when a man sees that your happiness doesn't depend on his presence, when he knows you won't collapse if he disappears, he respects you on a deeper level. You stop being the woman who tries harder. You become the woman he tries for. Because your energy says, I'm not afraid of losing you. I'm afraid of losing myself. And that is the kind of presence that commands not just love, but loyalty. We've explored overgiving, reassurance seeking, and shrinking your universe to orbit a man. The fourth value killer is quieter but even more corrosive. Abandoning your own standards and boundaries, the very guardrails that protect your heart, time, and energy. 1. How self-betrayal begins. It rarely starts with a big betrayal. It's a sure I can do Friday even though I'd planned a girl's night. It's laughing off a comment that actually stung. It's saying, I'm fine, when you're not, because you don't want to look dramatic. One tiny override at a time. You train him and yourself to believe your comfort is negotiable. The relationship becomes a series of silent concessions. You feel a twinge of resentment, but you swallow it. You tell yourself you're being flexible, understanding, easygoing. But deep inside, that small voice whispers, you just put his feelings above your own, again. Every time you hush that voice, your inner security alarm goes off a little louder. Eventually, the dissonance between what you need and what you allow becomes impossible to ignore. That's when anxiety spikes, attraction plummets, and you wonder where the spark went. 2. Why men respect uncompromising women. Healthy masculine energy is drawn to structure. Think of a river. The water flows powerfully, because the river banks keep it contained. Boundaries are those banks. A man may test them, consciously or not, because boundaries tell him who you are. When a woman calmly enforces hers, she communicates, I know my worth. I will not bend so far that I break. Contrary to the myth, that doesn't scare mature men. It relieves them. They can trust your yes because you're equally comfortable saying no. They know you're here by choice, not by neediness or fear. That certainty allows real intimacy, a meeting of equals rather than a caretaker-dependent loop. 3. The boundary blueprint. A. Get crystal clear on your non-negotiables. Write them down. Time to yourself each week, monogamy, shared financial goals, emotional accountability. Clarity eliminates guilt when it's time to enforce. B. Communicate early and lightly. Boundaries stated up front feel natural. I need at least 24 hours. Notice to make plans. My schedule's tight. Said with a smile, no lecture, no edge. He's informed, not scolded. C. Enforce with action, not emotion. If he cancels last minute a second time, decline the next invite instead of stewing. Caught that pattern. I'll pass tonight, but let's chat another time. No drama, just data. D. Reward alignment. When he meets your standard, appreciate it out loud. Affirmation is fertilizer for healthy behavior. Boundaries aren't just electric fences. They're also welcome mats for respect. 4. From fear-based dating to power-based living. Once you're living by clear standards, you'll notice a shift. Choice replaces fear. You're no longer trying to avoid being alone. You're curating who earns proximity to you. Here's what that looks like day to day. You respond, you don't react. A delayed text doesn't hijack your mood. You're busy living. You give from overflow. Acts of love feel light, not obligatory or anxious. You assume abundance. One misaligned man isn't a verdict on your desirability. It's proof your filter works. You feel safe inside your own body because you keep promises to yourself. You trust your intuition, your most magnetic asset. 5. A daily practice to anchor your value. 1. Morning check-in, 2 min. Before the world grabs you, put a hand on your heart and ask, what do I need to feel rooted today? Listen. 2. Micro boundaries. Practice in small ways. End a phone call when you're done. Decline an invitation without an essay-long excuse. Reps build muscle. 3's evening audit, Sinchamin. Did I honor my standards? Where did I wobble? 0 shame, just course correct tomorrow. 4. Joy appointment. Schedule at least one thing weekly that delights you alone. Dance class, reading in a cafe, hiking. Protect that appointment like you would a date. 6. What happens when you stand firm? Low-effort suitors fade fast. Great, your filter's working. Quality men step up. They sense the bar and instinctively rise. Your nervous system settles. Safety no longer hinges on someone else's behavior. It lives in your own alignment. Attraction becomes effortless. Magnetism is byproduct, not objective. You're radiant because you're self-true. 7. Reclaiming your power for good. Reclaiming power isn't a one-time epiphany. It's a series of micro decisions to honor yourself even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you temporary company, even when old conditioning screams people will leave. And yes, some will, let them. Because the spaces they vacate make room for the ones who see you, choose you, and most importantly, respect you. 8. Your new love paradigm. 1. I am the chooser. 2. My standards are invitations, not ultimatums. 3. My boundaries are acts of self-love, not punishment for others. 4. Love complements my life. It does not complete it. 5. I radiate worth. I never negotiate it. 9. A final visualization. Close your eyes. Picture a beautiful garden at dawn, lush, vibrant, gated. You are the gardener and the gatekeeper. Anyone may request entry, but only those who honor the space, who appreciate its beauty, who intend to nurture it. Get a key. Feel the calm in your chest when you know, I decide who comes in. I decide how I'm treated. I decide to protect my peace. That feeling? That's your power. It was never lost, only waiting for you to reclaim it. If this journey resonated, declare it. Comment, I'm choosing. Choosing yourself. Choosing standards. Choosing boundaries. Choosing love that lifts instead of drains. Because high-value energy isn't about being hard to get. It's about being impossible to forget. Now step forward, hold that head high, and watch how the world, and the right man, responds to a woman who finally, fully, unapologetically chooses herself.